the Midnight Clockmaker. Chapter 1. The Shop That Never Sleeps. In the heart of an old city, where cobblestone streets wind like forgotten melodies and gas lamps cast dancing shadows on weathered walls, there stood a peculiar shop that defied the natural order of things. While every other establishment closed its doors at sunset, Tempus and Company remained alive with gentle light and the softest symphony of ticking clocks. The shop belonged to Elias Tempus, a clockmaker whose fingers moved with the precision of time itself. His workshop was a wonderland of pendulums and gears, where grandfather clocks stood like silent sentinels and delicate pocket watches, nestled in velvet-lined cases like sleeping butterflies. But what made Elias truly extraordinary was not his skill with springs and escapements. It was his gift for understanding the secret language that all timepieces whispered in the deep of night. Every evening, as the world settled into slumber, Elias would light his brass oil lamp and begin his most important work. For you see, clocks are not merely instruments of measurement. They are keepers of moments, guardians of memories, and sometimes, when the midnight hour approaches, they become something altogether more magical. On this particular autumn night, with rain pattering against the shop windows like tiny fingers tapping out Morse code messages, Elias discovered something that would change everything he thought he knew about time itself. Chapter 2. The Clock That Ran Backwards. It began with a customer who arrived just as the cathedral bells chimed 11 o'clock. She was an elderly woman with silver hair braided with ribbons of midnight blue, and she carried with her a clock unlike any Elias had ever seen. The timepiece was housed in a case of deep mahogany, inlaid with constellations of mother-of-pearl that seemed to shift and shimmer in the lamplight. "This belonged to my grandmother," the woman said, her voice soft as silk, "and her grandmother before that. It has been in our family for 7 generations, but now—" She paused, her eyes reflecting a sadness as old as starlight. "Now it runs backwards." Elias accepted the clock with reverent hands. The moment his fingers touched its surface, he felt something extraordinary. A pulse, like a heartbeat, but one that counted moments in reverse. The hands moved counterclockwise, and with each tick, instead of moving forward into tomorrow, they seemed to be reaching back toward yesterday. "Can you fix it?" the woman asked, though something in her tone suggested she already knew the answer would be far more complicated than a simple yes or no. Elias studied the clock's face, noting the peculiar symbols where numbers should have been. Tiny moons and stars, leaves and flowers, symbols that seemed to tell a story written in the language of seasons and cycles. "I will try," he promised, though he sensed this was no ordinary repair job. After the woman left, promising to return in 3 days, Elias placed the mysterious timepiece on his workbench. As midnight approached, something wonderful and strange began to happen. The backward-running clock started to glow with a gentle, pearl-like luminescence, and suddenly all the other clocks in the shop began to slow their ticking, as if they were listening to a story only they could hear. Chapter 3. The Memory Keeper. As Elias worked by lamplight, carefully opening the clock's case, he discovered that its mechanism was unlike anything in his experience. Instead of the usual arrangement of gears and springs, the interior housed what appeared to be tiny chambers, each one containing swirling mists of color that moved like aurora borealis, captured in miniature. When he touched one of these chambers with his finest tool, the workshop suddenly filled with the scent of apple blossoms and the sound of children's laughter. In his mind's eye, he saw a young girl with dark curls running through an orchard, her dress the color of summer sky, her joy as bright as morning sunshine. The vision lasted only a moment, but it left him breathless with its clarity and beauty. He understood then that this was no ordinary clock. It was a memory keeper, a device that stored precious moments like a jeweler stores diamonds. Each chamber held a different memory, and as the clock ran backwards, it was offering these treasured experiences back to the world, one tick at a time. But why had it begun running backwards? Elias pondered this question as he examined each delicate component. In the clock's heart, he found a gear made of what looked like crystallized moonlight, and engraved upon it in script so fine it seemed written by fairy hands were the words, "When love remembers, time flows backward to preserve what matters most." Suddenly, everything became clear. This clock didn't need to be fixed. It was working exactly as it should. It was running backwards because someone loved these memories so much that time itself was bending to keep them safe, to make them last longer, to give them the reverence they deserved. Chapter 4. The Grandmother's Secret. The next morning brought autumn sunshine filtering through amber window panes, and with it came a young man who bore a striking resemblance to the elderly woman who had brought the clock. He introduced himself as Thomas, the woman's grandson, and his news filled Elias with both sadness and understanding. "My grandmother passed away peacefully in her sleep last night," Thomas said quietly. "But she asked me to tell you something about the clock. She said you would understand once you looked inside it." Thomas went on to explain that his grandmother had been a keeper of family stories, a woman who collected memories like others collected seashells. She had spent her final years traveling backwards through time in her mind, revisiting every precious moment with her loved ones. First steps, wedding days, quiet afternoons spent reading stories, Christmas mornings filled with wonder. She said the clock was her greatest treasure because it held all the moments she wanted to keep forever. Thomas continued. She knew it would start running backwards when her time grew short, because that's what it was designed to do, to preserve love in the form of memory. Elias felt tears prick at his eyes as he understood the profound gift he had been given. This clock was not broken. It was fulfilling its most sacred purpose. It was a testament to the power of love to transcend time itself, to make moments infinite by treasuring them completely. Chapter 5. The Gift of Time. That evening, as Elias sat with the memory clock in his workshop, he made a discovery that would change how he viewed his craft forever. Every clock in his shop had begun to slow down, not because they were broken, but because they were learning something important from their backward-running companion. He realized that time was not just about moving forward toward tomorrow, but also about honoring yesterday and treasuring today. The clocks were teaching him that every moment deserved to be savored, that rushing toward the future sometimes meant missing the magic of the present. As midnight approached, Elias made a decision. He would keep the memory clock in his shop, not to fix it, but to learn from it. He would let it run backwards for as long as it wished, sharing its treasury of precious moments with anyone who needed to remember that love makes time infinite. From that night forward, Tempus and Company became more than just a clock shop. It became a sanctuary for memories, a place where people could come to remember that time is not just about counting minutes and hours, but about making minutes and hours count. Visitors would often remark that spending time in the shop made them feel peaceful, as if they had been given permission to slow down and breathe. And in the center of it all, the memory clock continued its backward journey through time, its pearl-like glow reminding everyone who saw it that the most precious moments are not the ones we're rushing toward, but the ones we've been blessed to live. Chapter 6. The Rhythm of Love. As weeks passed, Elias discovered that the memory clock had awakened something beautiful in all the timepieces in his shop. They began to tick in gentle harmony, creating a lullaby of sound that seemed to slow the very air itself. Customers would enter feeling hurried and stressed, but within minutes they would find their shoulders relaxing and their breathing deepening. Children were especially drawn to the shop. They would press their small faces against the window to watch the clocked hands moving backwards, fascinated by the magic of time flowing in reverse. Elias would invite them in and tell them stories about how love can make time bend and stretch, about how memories are treasures more valuable than gold. One little girl named Luna visited every day after school. She had lost her mother the year before, and she found comfort in watching the memory clock's gentle glow. "Does it hold happy memories?" she asked one afternoon, her voice barely above a whisper. "The very happiest," Elias assured her. "Memories of laughter and hugs, of bedtime stories and birthday wishes, of all the moments when people loved each other so much that time itself wanted to preserve them forever." Luna smiled then, the first real smile Elias had seen from her. "I think my mama would like that clock," she said. "She used to tell me that love makes everything last longer, even when people have to go away." That night, as Elias wound his other clocks and prepared to close the shop, he reflected on the wisdom contained in a child's simple words. Love does make everything last longer. It transforms fleeting moments into eternal treasures, ordinary days into extraordinary memories, and simple human connections into something that transcends time itself. Chapter 7. The Eternal Moment. As autumn deepened into winter and the first snow began to dust the cobblestone streets like powdered sugar on a fairy tale, Elias made a profound realization about the nature of time and memory. The backward-running clock had taught him that the most important moments in life are not destinations to reach, but gifts to unwrap slowly, savoring each layer of meaning and beauty. On the anniversary of the day the memory clock had arrived in his shop, something magical happened. As the cathedral bells chimed midnight, every timepiece in Tempus and Company synchronized their rhythm, creating a symphony of ticking that seemed to make the very walls pulse with life. The memory clock's glow intensified, filling the entire shop with warm, pearl-like light. In that luminous moment, Elias understood the clock's greatest secret. It wasn't really running backwards at all. It was showing him that true time moves in all directions at once, forward into hope, backward into memory, and deep into the eternal present where love resides. From his window, Elias could see people throughout the city pausing in their evening walks, drawn by an inexplicable feeling of peace. They didn't know why, but somehow they felt the need to call someone they loved, to hug their children a little longer, to sit quietly and remember the good moments that had brought them to this night. The memory clock had become more than a keeper of one family's treasures. It had become a reminder to the entire city that every moment is precious, every day is a gift, and every beat of the heart is an opportunity to create memories worth preserving. As Elias finally prepared for sleep that night, he wound each of his clocks with extra care, whispering a small thank you to each one for the service they provided. Time, he had learned, was not something to be conquered or rushed through, but something to be honored, cherished, and shared. And in the gentle glow of the memory clock, surrounded by the peaceful symphony of ticking timepieces, Elias drifted off to sleep, dreaming of all the beautiful moments yet to be treasured, and all the love yet to be shared in the endless, backward-flowing river of time. In the shop that never sleeps, where time flows like honey and memories shine like stars, the Midnight Clockmaker continues his work, teaching anyone who will listen that the most important time of all is the time we take to love.